film with an absolute idiot of a co-star. And this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and uncomfortable that I got screamed at. And I would cry walking off set. This person would literally look at me in front of the whole crew and say, "You call yourself an actor, this is what I have to work with. What is this?" And I stood there just breaking. This happens. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. So no one had my back. And I remember the next day I walked on and I said, "You get off my set." It's the first time I've ever spoken. I remember being so scared. And I looked at this person and I said, "You can F off. I'm going to work towards a tennis ball. I never want to see you again." And then I remember the producers came up and said, "You can't do this to number one. We have to let this person be on set." And I said, "But the person can turn around and I can act it to the back head." Wow.
Celebs are coming together to spill the truth about how Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds allegedly scammed them. And the accusations are spiraling out of control. The drama is getting wilder by the day. And it's not just Hollywood insiders talking. A growing wave of voices from the Deadpool and Wolverine sets are straight up calling out Ryan Reynolds for his iron grip on production. Cast and crew members claim he bulldozed through projects, hijacking creative decisions with a ruthless my way or the highway attitude. Fans are slamming his actions as a shameless betrayal of Hollywood trust. But that's just the beginning, because Blake Lively's past? Oh, the receipts are pouring in. Dating back to 2018, she was only supposed to star in The Husband's Secret. But somehow, she ended up with an executive producer credit. Sketchy? You bet! And it gets worse. Small creators from as far back as 2014 are stepping up, claiming she exploited their designs, took what she wanted, and then disappeared without a trace. The whole perfect power couple act? Yeah, that's officially dead. At this point, Netflix might as well drop a true crime doc on these two. But here's the real kicker. This ongoing, messy war with Justin Baldoni? That's just the appetizer, because while Blake and Ryan have been out here playing wholesome, the accusations say otherwise. They've allegedly been snatching people's work, selling fake dreams, and running mind games like a toxic tag team. And just like that, their carefully curated, funny husband, classy wife image shattered beyond repair. We're talking about receipts from creatives, insiders, and even their so-called friends, all exposing the same messy truth. And trust me, it's not a good look. There's a lot to break down, so grab your snacks, mute your notifications. And let's dive into how Hollywood's sweetest couple might actually be the pettiest scammers in the game. And now, they're finally getting exposed for it. You'd be shocked to know that Blake's highlight reel of questionable moves didn't just start recently, it goes way back. Let's rewind to 2014, when some of y'all were still watching Paw Patrol, and Blake decided to launch Preserve, a painfully out-of-touch lifestyle site that tried to sell insanely overpriced candles, awkwardly rustic home goods, and random handmade trinkets that no one asked for. One article tried to make sense of Preserve and ended up saying that if you actually read the articles on the site, all you'd gather was that it was just a brand. That's it.
The biggest failure of Blake Lively's career is not this moment. It's not even this moment. I'm not saying something because this movie got a 5 on Rotten Tomatoes out of 100. The biggest stumble in Blake's career was this. And I'm going to need you to watch the first 10 seconds of the intro video. Just tell me, ballpark, what you think it's about, because you're not going to guess it. Preserve was Blake Lively's attempt.
The entire concept boiled down to a hipster fantasy selling overpriced knickknacks to millennials. And spoiler alert, it flopped hard. By 2015, Preserve was dead and buried, but instead of admitting defeat, Blake claimed it was too ahead of its time and just launched too soon. But the real receipts tell a very different story.
8-year-old actress will take down Preserve on October 9th. Blake launched the site in July 2014, but tells Vogue she doesn't want to continue with something that her and her team are, quote, not proud of. She goes on to explain, quote, "We launched the site before it was ready, and it never caught up to its original mission. It's not making a difference in people's lives, whether superficially or..."
Word on the street? Blake was allegedly ordering samples from small creators under fake names, copying their designs bar for bar, and then ghosting the original artists like they never existed. Cold. But if you thought Blake's sticky fingers were only swiping from Etsy shops, plot twist. There's an even bigger controversy lurking in the shadows. This one involves scripts. And while it never made it to the front pages of major gossip outlets, let's just say it's been whispered through Hollywood circles for years. Back in 2017, Blake was set to star in CBS Films' thriller, The Husband's Secret. But behind the scenes, a major storm was brewing. An indie screenwriter suddenly popped up online claiming that her script had been floating around Hollywood for years, and somehow it got reworked into the very film Blake was now leading. The wild part? Big-name outlets like Deadline, Variety, and The Hollywood Reporter never touched the story. And why would they? Back then, questioning A-listers, especially ones with a golden reputation, was basically off-limits. Which explains why this scandal is almost non-existent in mainstream media. But here's the kicker. This isn't just some far-fetched theory. An old interview clip just resurfaced, and in it, Blake straight up brags about hijacking projects from directors and producers like it's some kind of flex. Let that sink in. So I did a quick check, and guess what? Not only was Blake the lead in The Husband's Secret, but she also conveniently handed herself an executive producer credit. Shocking? Not really. If you know Hollywood, you know the deal. Half these celebs slap executive producer onto their resume, not because they actually do the work, but because it looks fancy and boosts their status. And even without solid proof, this fits right into the same messy pattern people have been calling out for years. Blake has a habit of eating off other people's plates. And nowhere was that more obvious than on the set of Gossip Girl, where her co-stars took all the heat for her behind-the-scenes drama and manipulative tactics. Her first victim? Penn Badgley. And let me tell you, the way Blake treated this man on set, criminal. Before Penn even had a chance to settle in, people were already side-eyeing him. Why? Because Blake was running her mouth behind the scenes, convincing everyone to ice him out. Not because he did anything wrong, just because she didn't like him. Let that sink in. It literally took weeks for the cast to realize Penn was actually a chill guy. But by then, the damage was already done. And the real kicker? After all that, Blake and Penn ended up dating for 3 years, only for her to dump him and run straight into Ryan Reynolds' arms. But here's where things get extra messy. After Blake married Ryan and had Hollywood's top producers practically worshiping the ground she walked on, Penn Badgley's career took a nosedive. And guess what? A lot of industry folks quietly blacklisted him. Not because he did anything wrong, but simply because Blake wasn't cool with him anymore. Sound familiar? It should. Because that's exactly what allegedly went down with Justin Baldoni and the It Ends With Us cast. After Justin leaked those spicy messages from Blake, people started connecting the dots. The theory? Blake caught feelings for Baldoni, but when he didn't reciprocate, she flipped the script and started acting like a bitter, jilted lover. And just like with Gossip Girl, the fallout was brutal. Now, her It Ends With Us co-stars like Brandon Sklenar and even author Colleen Hoover have been quietly distancing themselves from her. Allegedly, they finally saw the full picture and realized they'd been played too.
Blake Lively loves to do is tell on herself. So in a newly resurfaced interview from 2009 in Glamour magazine, Blake Lively opened up about how she tried to poison the cast of Gossip Girl against Penn Badgley. So we now know that she had Mr. Armie Hammerton fired from Gossip Girl after just 4 episodes, and now it appears she tried to do the same thing to Penn Badgley. Apparently she wasn't too pleased with Mr. Badgley when he was first cast. She didn't like the choice, so she tried to taint the rest of the cast against him, but once they realized what a good guy he was, she realized that she lost them.
Oh, and if you missed it, I already have a whole breakdown on Penn Badgley calling out Blake for wrecking his career, so run and catch that if you haven't already. That being said, let's talk about the other cast members, because if you think what happened to Penn was bad, wait until you hear how Blake did Leighton Meester dirty. These two had fans convinced they were besties on screen, but behind the scenes, let's just say their interactions were more like oil and water. If there's one thing about Blake Lively, it's that she'll always pull the gender card when things don't go her way. According to Gossip Girl's executive producer Joshua Safran, Blake and Leighton Meester were friends, but not friendly, which in Hollywood speak means they couldn't stand each other. And if you've ever watched their painfully awkward press interviews, The tension was right there, in plain sight. Then there's Armie Hammer, who played Gabriel on Gossip Girl. He didn't come right out and say it, but he subtly and very clearly hinted that Blake was the reason he left the show early. And at this point, is anyone even surprised?
Recently saying that Leighton and I were frenemies. And it's
frenemies. Is that the new term, frenemies?
Yeah, we're friends, but we're also enemies. And it's they see our characters on the show, and they want that to be true in a sense. I think they want everybody's characters in real life to emulate that. And it's really strange because they always want to pit women against each other. You don't hear about like Penn and Chase hating each other and being jealous and competitive. So it's very silly. But you know, we all do get along very well.
But if we're talking about Blake's biggest diva moments, we have to get into her messy fallout with Anna Kendrick, because that whole situation was an absolute circus. During the press tour for A Simple Favor, the tension between Blake and Anna was so thick you could cut it with a butter knife. One of the producers even admitted that Blake was impossible to work with. And Blake? Instead of taking accountability, she accused Anna of stealing the spotlight during promos. And people were just like, girl, please, if you want the full breakdown of how Anna Kendrick completely ended Blake, definitely check out my deep dive video. But for now, just know this, these receipts barely scratch the surface. Blake's nasty attitude has been out in the open for years. And at this point, there's no denying it.
More sense when you're watching a show that there's not an obvious choice between good and evil. So she would seem like the obvious choice, but she's also got, you know, flaws as well. But I think I'm just brunette because of the books.
And everyone knows blondes are nicer anyway.
Over there.
Moment by me.
And trust me, we haven't even hit the wildest part yet, because while Blake's skeletons are spilling all over the place, Ryan's closet, just as packed with drama. From sneaky Hollywood power moves to shady business dealings, the receipts are out. And guess what? Some of your favorite celebs who've been holding back for years are finally speaking up. Heads up, because it's bad. By the time we're done, you will be shocked. First up, Tim Miller, the OG director of Deadpool. And he's on record saying he left the project because of Ryan Reynolds. Now, if you always thought Ryan was just some goofy, lovable guy, yeah, Tim's got a very different story to tell. Apparently, Ryan took over Deadpool and treated it like his personal playground, calling all the shots while Tim was expected to just sit there and roll with whatever Ryan wanted.
Let me just say, that was a tough show to film, and I didn't end up actually filming all of the episodes I was supposed to because it was such a tough film.
Really? Literally, you said, get me out of this.
It was also like, get him out of here.
Really?
Yeah.
So it just literally was that. Whose love interest were you?
I was Blake Lively's love interest.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay, well
Sounds like she was the problem.
It sure does.
Word on the street, Ryan Reynolds wanted complete control over the entire Deadpool franchise. Scripts, scenes, vibes, everything. And the second Tim Miller pushed back, Ryan basically hit him with a my way or the highway ultimatum. Tim eventually packed his bags and didn't just walk away quietly. He straight up told Mental Health magazine, I don't mind having a debate, but if I can't win, I don't want to play.
A few times through Ryan in that film.
Got it.
And, you know, and thought she seemed nice, and little did I know.
Yeah. Look at the body language experts analyzing this right now. How quickly do you...
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
And let's be real. When Ryan Reynolds is blocking every move, what's even left to fight for? Tim even admitted, Ryan's the face of the franchise. He's the most important component by far. So if he decides he wants control, then he's going to control it. But here's the real tea. Tim Miller wasn't the only one fed up with Ryan's antics. TJ Miller, who played Weasel in Deadpool, had his own horror story to tell. And if you know TJ, you already know he's got a mouth on him. Unlike Tim, who dipped quietly, TJ made sure the whole world knew exactly why he was done with Ryan. And when I say this man would rather walk away from a fat paycheck than deal with Ryan's energy again, yeah, it's that deep. According to TJ Miller, Ryan Reynolds treated him like absolute trash on set, and not in a playful, haha, we're just joking way. This was straight up humiliation with zero punchline attached. The craziest part? TJ swears he has no idea why Ryan had it out for him. He was literally just a side character, yet Ryan was coming for him like he was a threat. But after thinking it over, TJ came to one conclusion. It was all about Ryan's ego. He needed everyone to know who the biggest star in the room was, and if that meant making TJ the punchline without the joke, so be it. And if you thought Ryan only had beef with the guys on set, think again, because even his leading lady caught serious smoke. Morena Baccarin, who played Vanessa, aka the literal love interest in Deadpool, went from being front and center in the first movie to being practically erased in the sequel. And no, this wasn't just a creative choice. Word is, Morena's real-life fallout with Ryan had everything to do with it. Apparently, she wasn't just cut from the spotlight in the movie, she was iced out in real life too. As for what caused the fallout, nobody's dropping receipts yet. But the rumors, oh, they're messy. Some say it was a fight over her shrinking role, while others claim she pushed back on some of Ryan's jokes that didn't sit right with her. One thing's for sure, challenging Ryan Reynolds in his franchise is the quickest way to get yourself ghosted. When Deadpool and Wolverine started trending, Morena Baccarin was nowhere to be found in the promo wave, and at the premiere, she stood solo while the rest of the cast was all smiles around Ryan. Yeah, that silence was loud. Honestly, this whole thing is giving serious Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni in It Ends With Us energy. When the power couple runs the show, you either play along or get played out. But here's the real kicker. Ryan's cold treatment didn't just stop with his Deadpool co-stars and crew. Reality TV stars got a taste too. And they weren't about to stay quiet. When the Jersey Shore crew was on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, they got hit with a spicy question. Who's the rudest celeb you've ever met? Most celebs dodge that question, laugh it off, or act like everyone in Hollywood is a saint. Not this time. At first, Sammy Sweetheart tried to keep it cute, but before she could even blink, Dina went full unfiltered and dropped one name, Ryan Reynolds. Dina tried to soften the blow by adding a little, he wasn't great to us, but I still love Ryan and Blake. But let's be real. If she had to clarify it that much, she had already said too much. Meanwhile, Sammy Sweetheart tried to do some damage control, brushing it off with a weak, maybe Ryan was just having a bad day. Yeah, sure. Long story short, Ryan's nice guy image might work on social media, but clearly not everyone is buying it. And when the cameras stop rolling, it looks like no one is safe from his attitude, not even rising A-listers. Some actors are so traumatized by their experiences with him that they won't even say his name. But the horror stories? Oh, they speak for themselves. Case in point, Rebecca Ferguson. Rebecca once spilled about a nightmare co-star who made her life hell on set. She didn't name drop, but the way she described it, pure chaos. This person was so deep in their insecurities that they couldn't even get their lines right. And instead of owning their mess, they took it all out on Rebecca. We're talking full-on screaming matches, calling her a trash actor in front of the entire crew like it was just a casual conversation. Sis was literally walking off set in tears. But here's the plot twist. Rebecca Ferguson did not stay silent. One day, she snapped back hard. Straight up, told this nightmare co-star to get off her set, and to make it even more iconic, she said she'd rather act with a tennis ball than deal with their dusty, C-list attitude. Legend behavior. After her story blew up, a bunch of actors, including The Rock himself, came through to show love. Even some of her past co-stars hit her up like, "Girl, we knew you were going through it, but this? Wild." Now, Rebecca kept the mystery name locked up, but she did make one thing clear. It wasn't Tom Cruise or Hugh Jackman. And while she didn't mention Ryan Reynolds either, some people still have him on their suspect list. Given his long history of messy Hollywood drama, it wouldn't be a shock. But Rebecca's not the only one quietly distancing herself from Ryan. Even his so-called Hollywood homies are keeping their distance. And the biggest switch up? Jake Gyllenhaal. Remember when Jake and Ryan were basically joined at the hip after filming Life? They were bromance goals, interviews, red carpets, the whole deal. But then it just fizzled out. And knowing how tight-lipped Jake usually is, the fact that he's actively ignoring Ryan's existence? Yeah, something in the Hollywood water is definitely off. And trust me, the awkward vibes between Ryan and Jake, just the tip of the iceberg. Because right now, Ryan's whole Hollywood reputation is basically one giant red flag. Directors and producers are legit shook to work with him. By now, y'all already know the word on the street. Ryan has a habit of stomping all over creative boundaries and turning every project into the Ryan Reynolds show, whether anyone asked for it or not. And even Quentin Tarantino, a man who has never been shy about speaking his mind, had plenty to say about Ryan's Netflix films. And let's just say it wasn't pretty. Here's what he said. I mean, and I'm not picking on anybody, but apparently for Netflix, Ryan Reynolds has made $50 million on this movie, and $50 million on that movie, and $50 million on the next movie for them. I don't know what any of those movies are. I've never seen them. Have you? I haven't ever talked to Ryan Reynolds' agent, but his agent is like, well, it costs $50 million. Well, good for him that he's making so much money. But those movies don't exist in the zeitgeist. It's almost like they don't even exist. Yikes. But if you think that's messy, wait until you hear about what went down with Home Alone. Ryan actually tried to reboot this classic, but with a twist nobody asked for. A stoner version called Stoned Alone. Yeah, you read that right. And Chris Columbus, the original director of Home Alone, did not hold back. He straight up called the idea disrespectful, an insult to cinema, and basically told Ryan to sit down and re-watch the original instead. Even fellow actors aren't holding back. When someone compared Gerard Butler's movie Gamer to Ryan's Free Guy, Gerard didn't even try to be polite. His response? I don't watch Ryan Reynolds movies. Oof. The shade. But outside of Ryan being messy on set, it looks like that same energy followed him straight into his love life. And guess who knows all about it? Scarlett Johansson. Their marriage just so happened to crumble right when Scarlett's career was blowing up, landing her those massive Marvel roles in Iron Man 2 and the Avengers. And on the rare occasions Scarlett has hinted at what really went down, she's been very clear. She once said, there will always be a more successful person in a marriage, but Ryan never wanted to be the least successful one. Yeah, that says a lot. Now, I already covered the full scoop on how cheating, jealousy, and insecurity led to Ryan and Scarlett's divorce. So, if you missed that, go check it out. But let's be real. This insecure label isn't just coming from one person. It's been following Ryan everywhere, from his co-stars to directors to exes. And at some point, you gotta ask yourself, if everyone is saying the same thing, can they all be lying? At this point, one thing is crystal clear. Blake and Ryan might give perfect couple on the surface, but behind the scenes, the math is not mathing. From shady career moves to relationship mess, the cracks are showing, and Hollywood is done letting it slide. Thanks for watching, guys. I want to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.
An article recently saying that Leighton and I were frenemies, and it's
Frenemies? Is that the new term? Frenemies?
Yeah, we're friends, but we're also enemies.
From getting married on an actual slave plantation to launching a pre-Civil War inspired lifestyle blog called Preserve. Like, seriously, Blake, what exactly are you trying to preserve? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Lively has been raising eyebrows for years. From making tone-deaf moves to allegedly shading her own co-stars just for not having the same privileged life she grew up with. People say Blake's been out here mocking folks for their struggles while flexing that Nepo baby status like it's a badge of honor. Now, before anyone gets it twisted, yes, Blake doesn't deserve any type of harassment, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about the other stuff. This isn't another deep dive into the Justin Baldoni lawsuit, but word on the street is that Blake's been out here mistreating people on set for years and trying to shut down anyone who dared to speak up. We're talking shady behavior like fat-shaming her female co-stars, allegedly making fun of Leighton Meester's tough upbringing, and even turning the whole Gossip Girl crew against Penn Badgley. It's messy, it's loud, and it's been going on way too long. So yeah, we gotta start with Leighton Meester, because if she had a problem with Blake, you already know it was serious. Leighton Meester is seriously one of the least problematic people in Hollywood. Like, when do you ever hear her name caught up in some mess? Never! She stays low-key, minds her business, and after everything she's been through growing up in real-life struggle, the way she's handled fame is honestly impressive. Now compare that to Blake. And yeah, sure, the media loves to push the whole female co-stars feuding narrative, but let's not get it twisted. This wasn't some made-up beef for clicks. People close to the situation say Blake was the one causing all the drama. Leighton, she never once aired it out publicly, but based on what's been whispered about how Blake treated her behind the scenes, she definitely had every reason to. And honestly, maybe she should have spoken up. Because if you don't know Leighton's background, let me break it down. Her life growing up was nothing like the glam Upper East Side fantasy she played on Gossip Girl. Leighton was actually born in a halfway house in Texas while her mom was locked up for trafficking substances. No joke. Her dad was also wrapped up in legal issues involving substances, so the first few months of Leighton's life were spent inside that facility with her mom. After that, she was sent to live with her grandma while her mom finished her sentence. And even after they got back together, life didn't get magically better. It stayed tough for years. And through all that, Leighton still rose up. Leighton's family relied on food stamps and welfare just to survive. She grew up bouncing between rundown rentals and started modeling as a kid just to help keep her family afloat. But it didn't stop there. Things got even messier as she got older.
Before now, I lived there for about 3 years as a preteen, which I don't want to remember.
Really?
The
yeah, you had kind of an unconventional. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, a little. Yeah.
All right. Tell people the situation that you were in with your parents and everything.
Her relationship with her mom spiraled into a full-blown legal battle over money and custody of her younger brother, Lex, who was diagnosed with brain cancer when he was just a baby. Imagine going through all that while trying to make it in Hollywood. And yet, Leighton never turned bitter, never played the victim. She's spoken about learning to find joy in the small stuff, and honestly, that kind of mindset after the childhood she had is rare. Somehow, she came out of it all being one of the sweetest and most grounded people in the industry. Now, the reason this backstory matters is because anyone with a shred of basic decency would never make jokes about someone being born in a halfway house to an incarcerated mom. That's just messed up. But guess who thought it was funny? Yep, Blake Lively. And it wasn't just some behind-the-scenes whisper either. Blake allegedly mocked Leighton on camera in a video that just resurfaced. The two were on stage at a panel answering questions when Blake casually made a shady comment about how
weeks ago that Gossip Girl star Leighton Meester was in a battle of the bucks with her estranged mother Constance. Constance is suing her famous daughter because she claims Leighton is breaking an agreement they had by not paying her a monthly allowance. Leighton's attorneys have asked the judge to throw the case out, stating that the lawsuit is based on a non-existent verbal contract. Leighton denies that she ever agreed to pay her mother any money, and that any funds she provided her with were not for Constance, but rather for Leighton's.
some people started in a cage. Yeah, she really said that. People in the audience were stunned. Like, how do you even try to laugh that off? What makes this whole thing even worse is that Leighton hates talking about her childhood, especially when it comes to her mom. She's been super private about it for years. She's never played the sympathy card or tried to use her past for attention. In fact, she's made it clear that it's a painful subject she'd rather leave behind. So for Blake to drag it into the spotlight and crack some twisted joke about Leighton starting her life in a cage, that's not just disrespectful, that's straight up cruel. But wait, it gets even more wild because Blake didn't just stop there.
He's got a few of them.
Come on, it was a joke. Lord have mercy.
That was a lot of information about cages, and I'm sorry, I was still thrown off by that stuff.
He was like, wow.
Who else didn't want to act in a cage?
Well, someone
started a cage.
Yeah.
Her level of audacity in recent years has hit astronomical heights. Fast forward to today, and Blake's out here acting like she's the queen of women empowerment. All over social media, she's branding herself as a crown straightener and calling herself a true girl's girl who lifts up other women. Back in July, she posted behind-the-scenes pics from the It Ends With Us screening, showing herself helping her co-stars with their outfits. She captioned it with, "I got maybe the best compliment of my life after this weekend. Someone on social called me a crown straightener." A woman going around straightening all the women's crowns around her. Is the crown straightening happening in a parallel universe? Because last time I checked, a real girl's girl doesn't mock another woman's trauma for laughs. A true girl's girl doesn't humiliate her co-star in public over something deeply personal and painful. But here's Blake, proudly patting herself on the back like she's some feminist hero when she's been accused of tearing other women down for years. And that brings us to another one of Blake's former co-stars, America Ferrera. She starred alongside Blake in the 2005 coming-of-age hit The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. And just like Leighton Meester, America is not the type to get dragged into messy Hollywood drama. She's respected, insanely talented, and has been doing her thing in the industry for decades without one scandal to her name. She's known for being professional, kind, and truly supportive of other women. So when Blake came forward recently with her claims against Justin Baldoni, America, being the loyal and empathetic person she is, publicly stood by her. But now, old reports are coming back up, and they paint a very different picture of Blake from back in the day. Word is, during filming for Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, Blake was allegedly insufferable to work with, especially toward America. Even worse, insiders claim Blake fat-shamed her on set. Yep, the same Blake who's now accusing Baldoni of body-shaming her is the one who allegedly made cruel comments about America's weight nearly 20 years ago. And while America's never publicly said a word against Blake, probably out of pure class, people in the industry have been whispering about this for years. There's even an old interview clip floating around where Blake and America were promoting the movie and Blake completely dominated the conversation. Like, wouldn't even let America breathe. She kept cutting in, taking over, and making it all about herself. And while America stayed quiet, her body language said everything. She looked uncomfortable, tight-lipped, and totally pushed to the side. The whole vibe? Awkward and tense. And that just adds to the pattern. Blake playing sweet in public while allegedly throwing shade behind the scenes. The side-eye, the awkward fidgeting. Yeah, America was clearly over it. And now that we know what's been said behind the scenes, looking back on that moment just hits different. America's the type who always tries to see the good in people and keeps things peaceful. But if there's one person who is never here for Blake's antics, it's Anna Kendrick. Now, if you know anything about Anna, you know she's got that sharp sarcasm and isn't afraid to match energy, especially when someone's acting out. And apparently, Blake did not like that one bit. While filming A Simple Favor, insiders say the tension between Blake and Anna was real. All because Anna wouldn't let Blake dominate the room like she usually does. Blake's got this need to be the center of attention in every conversation. But Anna, she wasn't having it. She'd hit back with her signature dry wit, and Blake just couldn't handle it. Anna's naturally funny. Her comebacks are smooth without even trying. Meanwhile, Blake's attempts at sarcasm, they fall flat and just end up sounding cold or shady. There are tons of clips of the two doing press for A Simple Favor, and you can feel the awkward vibes through the screen. Blake keeps trying to go joke for joke, but Anna's wit is too quick. And you can see it's getting under Blake's skin. It's giving major mean girl energy, like Blake was pressed that someone finally wasn't playing along or kissing up to her. And Anna, she wasn't about to fake it for the cameras. Now, if you were watching Blake and Anna together for the first time with no background, you might think Anna was the one being cold. But after everything that's come out, the Justin Baldoni situation, the behind-the-scenes tea, all the talk of Blake being a straight-up bully to her co-stars, it's clear Anna wasn't being rude. She was setting boundaries. That whole don't even try it vibe, that was Anna protecting her peace from someone who's allegedly been pulling mean girl moves for years. And let's be honest, Blake probably couldn't stand Anna. Why? Because Anna's smart, actually funny and naturally likable. She's got that razor-sharp wit that just hits without even trying. And you know it burns Blake that she can't keep up. Real talk, Blake and her husband have been trying to land that same charm Anna does effortlessly, and it's just not happening. You can see how much that gets under Blake's skin. And here's the kicker. In case you didn't know, Blake and Anna are back promoting the sequel to A Simple Favor, which is called Another Simple Favor. And when reporters recently tried to get Anna to comment on the whole Blake versus Justin Baldoni drama, she dodged that question like a pro, like clean exit, no mess. That's why Anna stays 5 steps ahead. She knows when to speak and when to keep it cute and quiet. Meanwhile, Blake can't go 5 minutes without putting her foot in her mouth. And look, someone must have told Blake she was funny once, and she ran with it. But trying to be funny and just missing the mark, that's harmless. What's not harmless is bullying your co-star and allegedly turning the whole cast against him. That's a whole different story. Yeah, that's not just petty, that's straight up vicious. And that's exactly what went down between Blake and her Gossip Girl co-star and ex-boyfriend, Penn Badgley. And notice how I'm not saying allegedly here, because Blake herself admitted to it. In a resurfaced 2009 Glamour interview, Blake, who played the ultimate it girl Serena van der Woodsen, openly confessed that she tried to sabotage Penn right from the start. She straight up said that she was so mad about him getting cast as Dan Humphrey that she made it her mission to turn the entire cast against him. Her actual words, "At first I was so upset that they hired him. I actually poisoned the whole cast against him." Like, what? That's not some harmless prank. That's malicious. And then she added, "But then they noticed that he wasn't a jerk and was actually a really nice, charming person." Almost immediately I realized that too, but it took me about a week to admit it. So she basically waged a one-woman smear campaign over nothing, realized he wasn't even the problem, and just brushed it off like it was no big deal. Blake really tried to play it off like it was a cute little behind-the-scenes confession, like, "Oopsie, I turned everyone against the new guy for funsies." That's wild. And while Penn's been staying silent about all the Justin Baldoni drama, he's making his stance loud without saying a word. Fans notice that he doesn't follow Blake on Instagram anymore, but guess who he does follow? Justin Baldoni. Not only that, but word is Penn and Justin are actually close. So yeah, Penn may not be out here spilling tea, but he's made it pretty clear where he stands. And Blake, that silence from her former co-star says everything. And to top it all off, Penn still follows Leighton Meester on Instagram. Out of all his former Gossip Girl co-stars, Blake is the only one he's completely unfollowed, and that says a lot. But guess what? It's not just actors spilling the tea anymore. Even former crew members are stepping forward with their own horror stories about Blake, and whew, it's not a cute look. One former runner from Gossip Girl told the Daily Mail that Blake gave him the cold shoulder after he just said, "Hi," like, that's it. Just hi. He said, "Unfortunately, my experience with Blake was not good." According to him, Blake came off like a total bully. He added that when fans approached, Leighton was always sweet and available. But Blake? She acted like she didn't have the time for anyone. And her attitude toward the crew? He said it was like she was talking to toddlers. And if things didn't go exactly her way, she'd reportedly throw a fit, making a whole scene and treating people around her like they were beneath her. With more and more people speaking up, former co-stars, crew, insiders, the receipts are piling high. From mocking castmates, isolating people, and throwing shade at the crew, the stories are painting a really rough picture behind the scenes. But now I want to hear your thoughts. Are you shocked by all of this? Or has Blake's mean girl energy been obvious from the start? And do you think more of her old co-stars will finally come forward? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And hey, before you dip out, don't forget to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Hit that button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive. We've got plenty more coming your way. See you in the next one.
They said, given how actively the Lively parties have publicized and litigated Ms. Lively's claims in the media, we are surprised to now learn how vehemently she wants to prevent the public from accessing material and relevant evidence.
The times where people ignore the red flags and say, let's just keep pushing, those are the times where you fail. The majority of things that we're buying are created by men. You always learn more from your failures than you do.
Blake Lively is caught in a whirlwind of backlash, one of the biggest controversies of her entire career. People are now convinced she's been hiding a manipulative, power-hungry side all along. Whispers have turned into full-blown accusations, with critics saying she got too comfortable calling the shots and never expected the tide to turn against her. Many believe she tried to spin the narrative in her favor, but those attempts, a complete failure. Now, fans, bloggers, and Hollywood insiders are pulling their support at record speed. Her social media following is crumbling, and the same people who once praised her are now branding her Hollywood's most hated woman. They insist she's the architect of her own downfall.
Who wrote to me said that they worked on the set of It Ends With Us, okay? And that the villain in this entire story is not Blake Lively, it's not Justin Baldoni, but it is Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan started the fire!
Allegedly. Don't gag order or sue me, Ryan Reynolds, okay? I don't want to be involved in your drama. I'm just telling my audience what I was told. He goes into Blake Lively's trailer and they have an argument. All of the production assistants overheard the argument.
Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni, the man she allegedly tried to sabotage, is being seen as the real victim. His support is skyrocketing, and people are rallying behind him, urging him to keep exposing the truth. Before all this, Blake had a golden reputation. Charming, stylish, the picture-perfect wife and devoted actress. Social media was flooded with admiration for her fashion, her family life, and her seemingly warm personality. But that picture-perfect image shattered when shocking rumors surfaced, alleging she was running the set of It Ends With Us like her personal kingdom. Industry insiders claim she acted like she owned the entire production. Sure, she had the title of actress and executive producer, but reports say she took things too far, demanding script rewrites and overruling the director's decisions at every turn. People on set felt trapped, afraid to challenge Blake Lively because they believed she held the power to ruin their careers in an instant. The atmosphere reportedly turned toxic, with some insiders describing it as a reign of fear. Sources started spilling what they called her arrogant and bullying tactics, claiming she used her Hollywood status to silence anyone who dared to oppose her. Then, things took a shocking turn. On February 22nd, The Hollywood Reporter dropped a bombshell, a cover story featuring Blake with a slingshot aimed at Justin Baldoni. The imagery was enough to set social media on fire, with readers taking it as a clear metaphor. Blake wasn't just difficult behind the scenes, she was actively targeting him. Many became convinced she was determined to control every aspect of the film, and the moment he resisted, she flipped the script, making him the villain. After this cover hit the stands, outrage exploded. More and more voices joined the chorus calling Blake out. In an attempt to shift the narrative, she claimed the cover was sexist. But instead of gaining sympathy, her words were met with mockery. Online, people dismissed it as a weak excuse, saying she was just trying to dodge accountability. To them, this wasn't a case of unfair treatment. This was desperation, plain and simple. And the idea that she was some kind of innocent victim? That illusion had completely shattered. At one point, Blake Lively threw a shocking accusation at Justin Baldoni, claiming he had acted inappropriately toward her. But the moment he fired back with receipts, text messages, and proof that contradicted her claims, her entire story started crumbling. Critics immediately pointed out the inconsistencies, arguing that the facts just didn't add up. Legal experts and journalists even compared the situation to past high-profile cases, saying Blake was trying to manipulate the Me Too movement for her own benefit. That's when the tide really turned. Fans who once cheered for her began calling her out, branding her a manipulator and insisting they could no longer believe a word she said. The image of her as a charming, down-to-earth actress completely shattered. People started saying she only acted sweet in public while secretly pulling strings behind the scenes to get what she wanted. Then another bombshell hit. Insiders revealed that Blake and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, allegedly worked behind the scenes to sabotage Justin's ability to promote the film.
Justin says that Blake was determined to make him the real-life villain in her story because she wasn't doing well on the promo tour for the movie. It was very tone deaf. Her hair care line wasn't doing well. She was trying to sell booze while talking about domestic violence. Justin says the war between himself and Blake really started in May 2023 when they started shooting the movie. He claims that she was organizing a takeover strategy.
Reports claim they made sure he was shut out of key marketing and press events, effectively making him invisible despite his major role in the production. To many observers, this was the final red flag, clear proof that something deeply shady was happening behind the scenes. For a while, Justin Baldoni stayed quiet, letting the storm rage on. But then, he dropped undeniable receipts that shattered Blake Lively's claims. The moment that evidence surfaced, public opinion took a sharp turn. Fans who were once on Blake's side suddenly switched teams, praising Justin for staying calm, collected, and composed. Compared to his steady approach, Blake's actions looked even worse. People started saying it was downright unfair that he was being shut out of something he helped create. Then came another twist. Ryan Reynolds got pulled into the mess. He attempted to defend Blake by joking about the scandal during Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary special. But instead of diffusing the situation, the joke backfired. Viewers who saw the controversy as serious felt his humor was completely tone deaf. Suddenly, Ryan wasn't just an innocent bystander anymore. Some fans started turning on him too. Speculation ran wild that he either knew about Blake's alleged behavior or, even worse, just didn't care. And in Hollywood, no one wants to be attached to a sinking ship. Industry whispers suggested that major players were quietly distancing themselves from the couple, not wanting to get caught up in the drama. Hollywood has never been forgiving to actors who bring chaos. And now, insiders claim Blake has officially become a massive liability. The industry backlash is real. Sources say certain directors are already blacklisting her, too worried about potential on-set conflicts. Even people who once publicly supported Blake, they're going silent, clearly more focused on protecting their own careers. Even some of her closest Hollywood friends are stepping back. And as if that wasn't enough proof, fans have noticed something else. Blake's social media following is plummeting by the day. Reports say Blake Lively has lost hundreds of thousands of followers, while Justin Baldoni's support has skyrocketed. The numbers don't lie. This is a massive shift in public opinion.
Us that Justin Baldoni claims she tried to take over his movie because she has a history of saying, okay, I'll be the star, but what I secretly want to do is direct it and edit it and produce it. I want all the roles for me and only me. I want full control because I am a controlling bully. That Justin Baldoni, ultimately, by the time they got to the premiere, was mandated by Blake Lively to spend the night in the basement away from his co-stars and didn't even get to see the final cut of his own movie because Blake Lively insisted that she be the one to approve it.
Critics argue that Blake tried to present herself as a champion for women's rights, but in reality, they say she was just using the movement for her own personal gain. Calling out Justin without solid proof backfired big time, making her look completely untrustworthy. And in today's world, social media users don't just take claims at face value, they investigate. As more details surfaced, people saw through the narrative she was pushing, and the backlash exploded. Then, there was the Hollywood Reporter's now infamous cover story. Instead of portraying Blake as a victim, it painted a very different picture. One where she was the one firing shots at Justin. And now, that's exactly how the public sees it. Many believe she wasn't just trying to influence the film, she was actively working to strip Justin of his creative control while making him look like the villain. When she accused the cover art of being offensive, viewers saw it as nothing more than a weak distraction, an attempt to avoid the real issue. That only sped up her downfall. The more people dug into her actions, the more they felt she was using serious issues as a smokescreen to cover up what really happened. And then came the legal bombshell, reports surfaced claiming Blake may have tried to alter or hide key text messages that didn't support her story. But Justin's side, they had the originals. If these allegations are true, Blake could be facing even more trouble ahead. And at this point, her reputation is hanging by a thread.
Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively, because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating over the fact that he's a man. But he's, to me, is sort of the embodiment of what happens when you totally emasculate a man. And then she continued, she took that stiletto and stuck it in his heart when he was down there self-flagellating, being so sorry for anything having to do with his testosterone.
As lawyers began pointing out the glaring inconsistencies in Blake Lively's story, public perception took another major hit. People started believing she was changing her narrative to win sympathy, and the comparisons to the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case became unavoidable. Now, online discussions are flooded with one explosive claim. Blake is the new Amber Heard. Many are convinced she's following the same playbook, and just like before, hidden truths are coming to light that don't work in her favor. Meanwhile, other celebrities, they want nothing to do with this mess. Some might have initially considered defending her, but the second they saw the full picture, they backed off fast. No one in Hollywood wants to be tied to a scandal this messy. Gossip channels on YouTube and social media have picked apart every piece of evidence, breaking it down in detail. The words being used? Controlling, entitled, even a monster. These aren't just casual criticisms. They represent the sheer level of outrage people are feeling. Many now see her as someone who used her fame to manipulate situations behind the scenes. But when things didn't go her way, she played the victim, hoping the public would rally behind her. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni has taken a completely different approach. As a follower of the Baha'i faith, which emphasizes kindness and unity, he refused to engage in public mudslinging. Instead of attacking Blake in the media, he remained calm and composed, letting his lawyers handle the accusations. Some believe Blake misunderstood his background and approach, expecting him to fight back in the way Hollywood typically does. But by keeping his cool, he only gained more respect, while Blake's credibility crumbled even further. Justin Baldoni's calm and composed approach has earned him a wave of new supporters. People see his refusal to engage in petty mudslinging as a sign of maturity and fairness, and in stark contrast, it makes Blake Lively look even worse.
Was what Blake says, a conversation that she heard had taken place with Steve Sarowitz. Steve Sarowitz is the head of Wayfair Studios. He is the co-founder of Wayfair Studios along with Justin. And she says in this lawsuit that, is it interesting? She says, this is what I heard, he said, but it's presented as a quote in the lawsuit. She says that Steve said, I will protect the studio like Israel protected itself from Hamas.
While she's been throwing accusations left and right, he's stayed above it all, letting the facts speak for themselves. Many now say that his silence only highlights Blake's alleged bullying tactics even more clearly. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds keeps trying and failing to save their public image. His signature humor, usually a fan favorite, is backfiring spectacularly. Every time he tries to joke about the controversy, people cringe, saying this situation is way too serious for comedy. Instead of softening the blow, his attempts at humor are making things worse, damaging his own reputation in the process. And in Hollywood, reputation is everything. Industry insiders whisper that brands and movie producers might start distancing themselves from Ryan if they believe he's too closely tied to Blake's scandal. There are already rumors that the couple is being quietly blacklisted from major events, as powerful figures in the industry don't want to be seen with them. The fear that this controversy will overshadow everything else and drag down projects that have absolutely nothing to do with it. At this point, Blake Lively is facing one of the worst backlashes of her career. The image she carefully crafted over the years, destroyed. Many now believe she was hiding a controlling and manipulative side all along, and when she finally got exposed, she never saw it coming. Critics claim she desperately tried to twist the facts, but it didn't work. Fans, bloggers, and industry insiders are dropping her like never before. Her social media numbers are plummeting, and the same people who once adored her are now calling her Hollywood's most hated woman. And according to them, she has no one to blame but herself. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni, the man Blake Lively allegedly tried to undermine, is gaining more support than ever. Many now see him as the real victim in this mess, and they're urging him to keep speaking his truth about what really happened.
Judge Lyman, as counsel for Wayfair Studios LLC, Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, It Ends With Us Movie LLC, Melissa Nathan, the Agency Group PR LLC, and Jennifer Abel, collectively the Wayfarer parties, we write to advise the court of an issue that the Wayfarer parties wish to address at the upcoming conference on Monday, February 3rd.
Before this scandal erupted, Blake had a sparkling reputation. Fans adored her for her style, her public image as a devoted wife, and her seemingly warm personality. Social media was flooded with admiration for her fashion choices and personal life. But the second rumor surfaced about her controlling behavior on the set of It Ends With Us. That perfect image came crashing down. Insiders spilled shocking claims, alleging that Blake acted like she owned the entire production. Sure, she had the title of actress and executive producer, but reports say she overstepped her role, demanding script changes and overruling the director's decisions at every turn. People working on the set felt powerless to push back, convinced that one wrong move could cost them their careers. The atmosphere? Pure fear. Then, sources started speaking out, describing her behavior as arrogant, bullying, and downright manipulative. They claimed she used her fame to silence anyone who didn't fall in line. And just when things couldn't get any worse, The Hollywood Reporter dropped a bombshell on February 22nd, a cover story featuring Blake with a slingshot aimed directly at Justin Baldoni. The message was loud and clear. She wasn't just difficult behind the scenes, she was actively targeting him. That cover only fueled the backlash, cementing public opinion that Blake was the one pulling the strings, and not in a good way. That explosive cover story didn't just turn heads, it set social media on fire. Readers immediately took it as a clear sign that Blake Lively had been targeting Justin Baldoni behind the scenes. Many were already convinced she was trying to control every aspect of the film, and when he resisted, she flipped the script, painting him as the problem. The backlash only intensified after the cover dropped, drawing even more public outrage. Blake scrambled to do damage control, claiming the cover was sad. But the response? Pure mockery. Social media users weren't buying it for a second. They saw it as nothing more than a desperate attempt to dodge accountability. By now, most people no longer believed she was some innocent victim of unfair treatment. And to make things worse, every time Blake tries to shift blame or claim she's being misunderstood, new facts surface that make her look even worse. One major red flag? She claimed to be afraid of Justin, yet insisted on controlling every single aspect of the movie. The contradiction was glaring, leaving fans more doubtful than ever. Instead of winning people back, her attempts to spin the story are pushing even more observers to side with Justin. And now, there's another major clue that things aren't looking good for Blake: Taylor Swift's silence. Taylor is known for fiercely defending her friends, but in this case, she hasn't said a word. Fans are starting to ask, if Blake is really the victim here, why isn't one of her most powerful allies speaking up for her? Some think Taylor's staying out of it to avoid the controversy, while others believe her silence says everything. Either way, it's a huge red flag, and yet another sign that Blake's downfall might be worse than anyone expected. At this point, many believe even Taylor Swift wants nothing to do with Blake Lively's mess. Fans are used to seeing Taylor write heartfelt public messages of support for her closest friends, but when it comes to Blake, not a single word. Her silence is deafening, and people are convinced it means defending Blake is simply too risky. Now, the big question is, can Blake Lively ever recover from this? Some say there's still a tiny chance, but only if she owns up to her mistakes, apologizes for her actions, and stops twisting the facts. But so far, she's done none of that. Instead, she's doubling down, claiming that a hidden agenda is fueling the backlash and insisting that Justin is the real villain. But here's the problem. That strategy is falling apart. The more she pushes this narrative, the more people are calling her dishonest and manipulative. She's losing ground fast, and even former supporters are saying her credibility is beyond repair. This scandal isn't just about Blake. It's also sending a major warning about how the Me Too movement is handled in Hollywood. Fans are furious, saying serious movements shouldn't be used as a shield for personal vendettas. Many believe Blake's actions hurt real victims by making it harder for people to believe legitimate claims. What was once a glittering Hollywood image is now a full-blown disaster. People aren't just disappointed in Blake, they're angry. And at this point, the damage might be permanent. Now, the damage isn't just to Blake Lively's reputation, it's to the credibility of real victims. Many people believe she made it harder for genuine stories of abuse to be taken seriously, and that's a stain that won't wash away easily. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's career is soaring. Despite allegations that he was nearly shut out of his own film's promotion, he stayed calm, composed, and let the truth speak for itself. The way he handled himself throughout the scandal earned him massive respect from fans and industry insiders alike. Now, some are predicting his career is about to take off like never before. He's being hailed as a man of integrity, someone who refused to sink into messy public fights and instead defended himself with professionalism. Hollywood loves an actor who appears reliable and steady, and if studio heads are paying attention, they might be lining up to work with him next. But Blake? Her future is looking bleak. Insiders whisper that certain producers don't want to take the risk of hiring someone who might demand script changes or bring massive negative press. The once coveted A-list star is now rumored to be losing major opportunities. Some deals that were once in the works, quietly halted. Others, possibly dropped altogether. Her fans are shocked by the stark contrast between the warm, approachable star they once admired and the power-hungry Hollywood player painted by these accusations. The disappointment is real, and for some, it feels like betrayal. People are asking why she couldn't just do her job as an actress and executive producer, why she felt the need to seize control of the entire production. She once had it all: fame, a thriving career, a powerful Hollywood husband, and a fiercely loyal fan base. But this scandal, it may have brought her fairy tale life crashing down. Because in Hollywood, once the public loses respect for a star, it's nearly impossible to get it back. Blake Lively's fall from grace has been nothing short of shocking. She was once Hollywood's sweetheart, celebrated as a fashion icon and beloved public figure. But now, those old compliments feel hollow in the wake of accusations about her controlling behavior and questionable honesty. And it's not just her reputation taking a hit. Ryan Reynolds' brand is slipping too. He was once the undisputed king of cool, a fan favorite known for his humor and easygoing charm. But by standing by Blake's version of events, and worse, trying to joke his way through the controversy, he now risks being seen as someone who doesn't take serious issues seriously. Fans are questioning everything. How much of his relatable persona is real? Or has it all just been an act? Some have even started talking about boycotting his projects if he continues to shrug off the scandal. And in Hollywood, where public perception is everything, this could be a major risk for him too. As for Blake, her chances of bouncing back look slim. Many believe there's only one way out: a genuine apology, admitting to her mistakes on set, and taking responsibility without pointing fingers. But so far, she's done the exact opposite. Instead of owning up, she's doubling down, constantly adding new twists to the story, shifting blame to Justin, the media, even the audience for misunderstanding her. But this isn't winning anyone over. In fact, it's only pushing more people away. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's public image has skyrocketed. He went from being pushed aside in his own film to becoming a symbol of resilience. Fans respect that he hasn't stooped to cruelty despite Blake's attacks. Instead, he stayed composed, let the facts speak for themselves, and refused to play dirty. And now, he's walking away from this mess with his reputation stronger than ever, while Blake's might be beyond repair. Instead of fighting fire with fire, Justin Baldoni let the receipts do the talking, and the public made up their own minds. What they saw, a man who was unfairly targeted by one of Hollywood's most powerful couples, yet handled the storm with dignity. Now, people who never paid much attention to him before are suddenly flocking to his social media, eager to follow his next moves. His fan base is growing fast, and not just because of sympathy. They respect how he carried himself through it all. Many believe he was treated unfairly, and they're making it clear they want to support him. But this scandal exposes something much bigger: the dark side of fame. Blake Lively was once Hollywood royalty, a golden girl with a dream career, a picture-perfect marriage, and an image of being warm and charming. But in a flash, all of that came crashing down. And what started it all? The very movie she allegedly tried to control. If she had stayed in her lane, if she had simply played her role without trying to dominate the entire production, maybe she would still be praised and adored. But now, she's at risk of being blacklisted. Insiders whisper that major studios don't want the baggage that comes with her anymore. The big question remains, is this the end of Blake Lively's Hollywood career? At this point, it all depends on what she does next. Will she keep insisting she's the victim? Or will she finally take some responsibility and try to salvage what's left of her image? The public is watching, and with new details still emerging, one thing is clear. Blake Lively is standing on the edge of Hollywood's exit door. Whether she gets pushed out or finds a way back in, that's up to her. Blake Lively might try to rebrand herself in the future, but at this point, it seems like a major apology would be the only way fans might even consider listening. To many, the truth about her behavior has finally been exposed. They see her as someone who wanted total control, someone who silenced anyone who dared to push back. And in contrast, Justin Baldoni is now seen as the calm, level-headed one, the man who was nearly erased but stood his ground. The numbers tell the story. Blake's followers are vanishing by the thousands, while Justin's support is skyrocketing. The public has made up its mind. This scandal is still a major conversation online, but most people believe Blake's career has already taken the hit. The only question left? Can she make real changes and regain even a fraction of the trust she's lost? Because right now the power has shifted, and she's the one left on the losing end. What do you think? Will Blake find a way back, or is this truly the end for her in Hollywood? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. It helps more than you know, and I'll keep bringing you the latest updates and biggest stories in entertainment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
It's really interesting. A lot of them are just not looking at him at all, even though he's standing and spraying. That's really interesting.
Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively have always been Hollywood's golden couple, or so we thought. But lately, whispers have turned into full-blown accusations, and it's not the flattering kind of attention they're used to. For years, they've charmed the world with their playful banter, dazzling red carpet appearances, and picture-perfect love story. Fans ate it up, believing they were the ultimate dream team.
There are some people who feel like he is the one who's driving all of this and telling Blake. I don't think that seems very unfair to Blake Lively.
That's
to me,
pretty diabolical.
But behind the smiles and witty social media posts, some people are saying there's a much darker side to their Hollywood reign. Now, multiple insiders and fellow celebrities are speaking out, claiming that Ryan and Blake may have pulled some seriously shady moves to maintain their squeaky clean image. Allegations are swirling that they've used underhanded tactics, possibly even deception, to stay on top. And the truth might finally be catching up with them. Some sources are even suggesting that they manipulated situations and people to control their narrative.
Reynolds, this is his thing. He's a Taylor Swift of the movie industry. When he gets upset with somebody, he puts them into a script.
Could this be the beginning of their carefully crafted empire crumbling? Things really started unraveling when Blake Lively dropped a bombshell accusation against her It Ends With Us co-star and director, Justin Baldoni. She publicly claimed that Justin harassed her on set, and of course the internet exploded. At first, people rushed to support Blake. After all, she's been seen as America's sweetheart for years. But then Justin Baldoni hit back hard. He didn't just deny the allegations, he filed a massive $400 million lawsuit against both Blake and Ryan. That's not pocket change, that's a legal war zone.
Justin Baldoni war with Blake Lively, which seems to me, initially I felt quite sorry for Blake Lively, then I've been reading all the messages, and it just seems like a pair of absolute weapons-grade narcissists.
In the lawsuit, Justin accused the power couple of defamation, manipulation, and even trying to take control of the entire film project. And here's where it gets even messier. Once Justin spoke out, more industry insiders started coming forward with their own stories. Suddenly, murmurs turned into loud accusations, with some claiming that Blake and Ryan have a history of using their star power to twist situations in their favor. There's even talk that they might orchestrate drama to play the victim and keep public sympathy on their side. Is this a classic Hollywood power play gone too far? Or is the perfect Reynolds Lively image finally starting to crack under pressure?
We had a really weird moment on Deadpool where he said, let's do one more take. And everyone was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then as the character, he was like horrifically mean.
Fans have always seen Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively as Hollywood's ultimate power couple. Fun, lovable, and totally drama-free. Their playful social media banter and picture-perfect romance made them seem untouchable. But now, with these shocking claims surfacing, people are wondering, was it all just a carefully crafted illusion? If these accusations hold any weight, it could mean Ryan and Blake have been pulling strings behind the scenes for years, cutting people out, making backdoor deals, and controlling the narrative to stay on top.
All through the text messages, you'll see over and over and over again him saying, I don't want to hurt her. I want to protect her. Let's give her what she wants.
Some industry insiders are saying they never bought into the sweetest couple ever act, while others are absolutely stunned by the allegations. Hollywood is buzzing with whispers that Ryan and Blake might have a pattern of manipulation that's finally catching up with them, and with Justin Baldoni, along with other celebrities, now speaking out. This whole situation, verge of exploding. Is this the beginning of the end for Hollywood's golden duo?
With direct knowledge, tell TMZ, lots of the stars who attended the events on Sunday were confused as to why Blake and Ryan appeared on the show while they battled it out in court surrounding the movie. It ends with that.
Blake Lively's accusations against Justin Baldoni were explosive, but now people in the industry are questioning if there's more to the story. Was this a genuine claim or a calculated move? Some insiders have pointed out that the timing felt suspicious, sparking speculation that Blake might have had another motive for making these allegations.
So the story goes, essentially, he says she didn't even read the book before signing on to the project. Then she read the book and kind of became consumed with it and wanted to basically introduce her own lines and wanted to become a part of the project and rework.
Then came the legal bombshell. Justin Baldoni didn't just deny the claims, he fired back with a massive lawsuit against Blake and Ryan, making it clear he's ready to battle this out in court. He's accusing them of trying to destroy his reputation, take control of his film, and manipulate the public into seeing them as the victims. And the stakes couldn't be higher. Now, the whispers in Hollywood are turning into open discussions. Usually, celebrities stay quiet to avoid legal drama or ruining industry relationships. But this time, some are subtly throwing their support behind Justin, hinting that they've personally witnessed Blake and Ryan behaving in ways that don't match their carefully polished public image.
I defend Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent...
The cracks in their perfect facade are getting harder to ignore. And with more stars starting to speak up, this scandal is only getting bigger. Now, fans are starting to ask, do Ryan and Blake thrive on drama when it benefits them? For years, whispers have followed Ryan Reynolds, hinting that his funny man, nice guy image might be just that. An image! One of the first red flags? A run-in with the Jersey Shore cast that left them raising eyebrows. They hinted that Ryan wasn't as friendly as he seems on social media, and that his real personality might be way more abrasive when the cameras aren't rolling.
Who? Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, not great to us.
Oh, this Ryan.
If it were just one awkward encounter, people might brush it off. But more stories keep surfacing, painting a picture of someone who's not always the charming jokester fans adore. Then there's actress Rebecca Ferguson, who openly shared that she was mistreated by a co-star on set. She didn't name names, but Hollywood insiders have been speculating nonstop. Could Ryan be the mystery actor she was talking about? With more of these stories coming out, people are starting to wonder, how much of Ryan's nice guy reputation is real, and how much of it is just clever PR?
I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star. And this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and comfortable that I got squeezed.
fans started playing detective, and one name kept coming up, Ryan Reynolds. There's no hard proof that he was the co-star Rebecca Ferguson was referring to, but people were quick to rule out Tom Cruise and Hugh Jackman. That left them wondering, could Ryan be the one she was hinting at? And that's not the only relationship of his that seems to have mysteriously soured. He used to be tight with Jake Gyllenhaal, but now, crickets.
We have an ongoing feud with Ryan. Who? You know that guy. What's it gonna take for him to actually be BFFs with you?
Well, I mean, in truth, there was a time in which we were.
The two actors who once had a playful bromance barely acknowledge each other anymore. No one has come forward with the details, but gossip sites suggest that Ryan might have crossed a serious line with Jake, one that ended their friendship for good. Then there's Morena Baccarin, Ryan's leading lady in the first Deadpool movie. In the sequel, her role was drastically reduced, and when the film was being promoted, she was nowhere to be seen. No red carpets, no major press events. Just gone.
Somebody else who is very connected to this reached out and said, Candace, you're 90% there. You're just missing one thing. And I'm beginning to wonder, and listen, full speculation, no proof, for him to go that crazy.
Hollywood insiders believe Ryan had something to do with it, allegedly pushing her aside after a disagreement to make sure everyone knew who was in charge. If the rumors are true, it paints a very different picture of Ryan Reynolds, one where he's not just the lovable, joke-cracking star, but someone who controls the narrative behind the scenes. Wild, right? But it doesn't stop there. TJ Miller, who played Weasel in the Deadpool movies, dropped a bombshell. He found Ryan so unbearable to work with that he flat out refused to return for Deadpool 3, no matter how much money they threw at him.
As if I'm Weasel.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So he was like, what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star, but you just, you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the real movie. So he's riffed. The whole crew was acting.
TJ didn't just call Ryan difficult. He claimed Ryan actively tried to make him feel small on set. Not as part of a joke, but in a way that felt personal and intentional. According to him, Ryan was insecure and needed to prove he was the bigger star, making the work environment so toxic that TJ vowed to never work with him again. That's a huge statement considering how massive the Deadpool franchise has become. Walking away from that level of success? TJ must have really had enough.
Theory is that Ryan Reynolds saw that scene in It Ends With Us, and it was a trigger.
And it wasn't just actors who had issues with Ryan. Director Tim Miller, who helmed the first Deadpool movie, also bailed before the sequel. The reason? Ryan allegedly wanted total control over the franchise. Tim felt completely pushed out, claiming Ryan refused to share creative power. Rather than fight a losing battle, Tim walked away. With all these stories piling up, the question remains, has Ryan Reynolds been carefully curating his funny man image while secretly making power plays behind the scenes? This lines up perfectly with what people have been saying. When Ryan Reynolds is in charge, he's in charge. And if you don't fall in line, you might just find yourself replaced. The pattern is impossible to ignore. On screen and online, Ryan plays the charming, self-deprecating funny man, but behind closed doors, some claim he's controlling, insecure, and not nearly as friendly as he pretends to be.
There are some people who feel like he is the one who's driving all of this and telling Blake. I don't think that seems very unfair to Blake Lively.
That's
to me,
pretty diabolical.
Of course, these are just stories from people who've worked with him, and there's no smoking gun. But the revolving door of actors, directors, and co-stars around his projects sure raises eyebrows. It paints a very different picture of who Ryan really is when the cameras aren't rolling. And these whispers don't just stop at his career, they bleed into his personal life too. Ryan was once married to Scarlett Johansson, and their breakup was anything but quiet. Their marriage publicly crumbled, and Scarlett later hinted that things between them had been far from perfect. She suggested that Ryan's insecurities played a huge role in their relationship problems, especially when her career started to skyrocket.
We were married. We weren't married very long, but we were married when I met you. When I first met you for Iron Man, whatever. Yeah, I was married.
We love a good Ryan Reynolds in our house.
When Scarlett landed major roles in Iron Man 2 and the Avengers, it became clear that apparently Ryan wasn't too happy about Scarlett's rising success. According to her, being married to someone who resented her achievements was exhausting. She hinted that Ryan struggled with seeing her land bigger roles, bigger paychecks, and way more attention in Hollywood. What started as a marriage soon turned into a competition, and the tension became unbearable. Scarlett described it as a situation where one partner couldn't handle the other's success, leading to jealousy and resentment. Eventually, their relationship collapsed. At the time, many fans blamed her for the breakup, assuming she had been the problem. But in more recent interviews, Scarlett has subtly suggested that Ryan's insecurities and controlling tendencies played a major role in why things fell apart. And here's where things get even messier. While still married to Scarlett, Ryan was rumored to be getting very close to Blake Lively on the set of Green Lantern. Could their romance have started before his divorce was final? Hollywood gossip says yes. Hollywood gossip swirled that Ryan and Blake's undeniable on-set chemistry was impossible to ignore. If Ryan was already unhappy in his marriage to Scarlett and secretly getting close to Blake, it would explain a lot about why he walked away so quickly. Some insiders even speculated that Ryan saw Blake as someone who made him feel in control again, which may have played a major role in the sudden split. And let's not forget, Blake Lively benefited massively from being linked to Ryan. Sure, she was already a recognizable name from Gossip Girl, but dating and later marrying a Hollywood A-lister instantly boosted her star power. Being with Ryan took her from TV fame to a household name on a whole new level. Meanwhile, even though Ryan has had major box office hits, especially with Deadpool, not everyone in Hollywood is a fan. Many directors and actors reportedly don't take him seriously, especially those who believe in real cinema. One of the loudest critics, Quentin Tarantino. Tarantino has made it clear he doesn't think much of Ryan's movies, dismissing them as forgettable and lacking any real depth. And that's not all. Tarantino has also been outspoken against making films for streaming platforms, something Ryan has leaned heavily into, especially with his big-budget Netflix deals. Could this be why Ryan isn't exactly beloved in serious film circles? Some believe he's built his empire on entertainment, not artistry, and not everyone respects that. From Quentin Tarantino's perspective, Ryan Reynolds is just another actor cashing in on big-budget projects, not a true artist. And Tarantino isn't the only Hollywood heavyweight who feels this way. Chris Columbus, the legendary director behind Home Alone, was furious when he heard about Ryan's attempt to make a stoner-themed reboot of the Christmas classic. The concept? A guy who grows weed, misses his flight, and then has to fend off burglars while high. Columbus didn't just shut it down, he publicly slammed the idea, calling it insulting to the legacy of Home Alone and an absolute joke compared to real cinema. His message to Ryan, go watch the original instead of trying to ruin it. And the shade doesn't stop there. Gerard Butler also threw some serious shots at Ryan when people compared Butler's film Gamer to Ryan's Free Guy. Both movies revolve around virtual reality, but when asked about the comparison, Butler dismissed it completely, saying he doesn't even watch Ryan Reynolds movies. The implication? Ryan's films aren't worth his time. When you look at all these major Hollywood names, Tarantino, Columbus, Butler, all showing zero respect for Ryan's work, it starts to paint a picture. It's clear that Ryan hasn't exactly won over certain directors and actors, especially those who value traditional cinema or have had personal run-ins with him. Now let's bring it all back to the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and Ryan Reynolds scandal, because this drama is far from over. When Blake Lively accused Justin Baldoni of harassment, it sent shockwaves through Hollywood. But things took a wild turn when Justin hit back hard with a lawsuit, accusing both Blake and Ryan of trying to smear his name and manipulate the narrative. And here's where it gets even messier. Justin isn't the only one saying this. More industry insiders are stepping forward, claiming they believe Justin over Blake and Ryan. That alone suggests that this might not be the first time the couple has played this kind of game. There are whispers that Ryan and Blake have a history of stirring up drama, crafting the perfect victim narrative, and keeping the public on their side, no matter what. For years, they've been Hollywood's it couple, known for their playful social media jokes and flawless marriage. But now, The cracks in their perfect image are getting impossible to ignore. And with each passing day, the scandal only gets bigger. Then came their controversial appearance on Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary special. People were stunned. Was this a desperate attempt to control the narrative surrounding the lawsuit and harassment claims? Ryan even joked about the legal battle, while Blake stood by his side, showing her support. But instead of damage control, it backfired. Many fans felt the whole thing was incredibly tone-deaf, given how serious the accusations against Justin were. Did Ryan and Blake just make things worse for themselves? Because at this point, the Hollywood gossip machine isn't slowing down anytime soon. The reaction was brutal. The SNL audience didn't laugh, and Justin Baldoni's own lawyer slammed the joke, questioning how anyone could find humor in something as serious as harassment allegations. Instead of clearing their names, Ryan and Blake's attempt at damage control only made them look more suspicious. Now, the big question on everyone's mind, have Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively been faking it all along? Were they always a carefully manufactured Hollywood power couple using their charm and influence to stay on top, even if it meant stepping on others? Or is this all just a case of misunderstanding, with Ryan and Blake becoming easy targets for Hollywood gossip? At this point, it's impossible to say for sure. But what is clear? The allegations are stacking up. The couple can no longer just brush things off with a witty tweet or a viral joke. More and more insiders are coming forward with unsettling claims about Ryan's behavior and Blake's behind-the-scenes moves in Hollywood. Is this all just jealousy from people who can't stand to see them winning? Or are we finally seeing the cracks in their carefully polished image? One thing is for sure, Hollywood is watching closely, and Ryan and Blake have never faced scrutiny quite like this before. For many fans, the disappointment is real. If even half of these accusations are true, it means Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively haven't just been hiding secrets, they've been carefully crafting a public persona that might be completely fake. They've sold themselves as the funny, wholesome, effortlessly lovable couple, but behind closed doors, some insiders say they're anything but. And then there's Ryan's pattern of insecurity, something that more than one person, including his exes, has pointed out. If these claims are true, maybe his need for control has led to his fallouts with directors like Tim Miller, actors like TJ Miller, co-stars like Morena Baccarin, and even close friends like Jake Gyllenhaal. Could his controlling nature have also played a major role in the downfall of his marriage to Scarlett Johansson? She didn't just say their relationship was difficult, she called it volatile. A word that carries serious weight. Then there's Blake. Up until now, she's been seen as the sweet, stylish, all-American girl, first rising to fame in Gossip Girl, and later making waves in movies like The Shallows and A Simple Favor. Fans have adored her fashion sense, her seemingly effortless charm, and the way she playfully teases Ryan online. But now, if Justin Baldoni's lawsuit has any truth to it, Blake may have been just as strategic as Ryan, working with him to twist narratives and keep their image spotless. Is the world finally seeing the real Ryan and Blake, or is this just another Hollywood witch hunt? Either way, the fairy tale is cracking, and people are starting to question everything. Blake's accusations against Justin Baldoni were serious, but some are now questioning if she used them as a weapon to gain leverage. If that's true, it completely shatters the image of Blake as the innocent, sweet starlet that fans once believed in. And with so many different angles to this story, one thing is certain. This is far from over. The next few weeks could be critical. If more celebrities step forward, it will either strengthen Justin's case or force Ryan and Blake to finally address the situation with more than just clever jokes and carefully crafted statements. If they can disprove Justin's lawsuit and clear their names, they might be able to repair their reputation. But if more evidence or testimonies come to light supporting his claims, it could mean the total collapse of Ryan and Blake's carefully built image, the one that made them Hollywood's perfect couple. This is the kind of scandal that shifts careers, sinking some and elevating others. Right now, fans are digging deep, Rewatching old interviews and viral clips of Ryan and Blake looking for signs they might have missed, people are analyzing Ryan's behavior in press junkets, paying closer attention to how Blake dodges tough questions, and even revisiting photos where co-stars seemed uncomfortable around them. The internet is buzzing with speculation about why certain actors were suddenly cut from press tours or sequels, and whether there was more going on behind the scenes than anyone realized. So what happens next? Only time will tell. Maybe in a few months, this will all blow over, and Ryan and Blake will still be playing the perfect couple, cracking jokes online and landing blockbuster roles. Or maybe this lawsuit and the flood of news stories will keep coming until they can no longer hide behind PR tactics and carefully controlled narratives. One thing's for sure, Hollywood is watching. People are glued to this scandal, watching closely for any new developments. And right now, things are looking messy. The more Ryan and Blake try to laugh it off or brush it aside with their usual charm, the more suspicious it all seems. Fans aren't falling for the distractions anymore. They want real answers, not just another round of witty quips on late-night TV or playful social media banter. At this point, the biggest takeaway is clear. Ryan and Blake may not be the picture-perfect sweethearts everyone thought they were. If they really have been pulling manipulative moves to stay on top, it might finally be catching up with them. And the worst part? More Hollywood insiders are hinting that they've seen it firsthand. While many have yet to speak publicly, the rumors are swirling that more people have stories to tell, ones that could completely change the way fans see this golden couple. If even a fraction of these whispers turn out to be true, we could be in for even bigger bombshells in the weeks ahead. And what about regular fans? Social media is divided. Some people claim they always had a feeling something was off, while others are completely shocked. Now people are digging through old interviews, searching for clues. Those awkward moments when Ryan or Blake seemed uncomfortable or irritated. Those weird instances when co-stars suddenly disappeared from projects without explanation. One thing that really stands out, the Deadpool drama. TJ Miller's exit remains one of the most blatant red flags. He didn't just leave, he flat out refused to return, no matter how much money was on the table. That's not something you see every day in Hollywood. And let's not forget, Tim Miller walking away from Deadpool was another red flag that many people ignored at the time. But now, it's starting to look like part of a much bigger pattern. As for Blake Lively, her role in this mess is still unfolding. She's managed to stay out of controversy for most of her career, but these harassment allegations and Justin Baldoni's lawsuit have put her in a completely different kind of spotlight. If more people come forward with negative experiences, it could shatter the perception of her as Hollywood's sweet, down-to-earth, fashion icon darling. But if no one else speaks out, Blake might be able to claim that Justin's accusations are completely false. Still, that $400 million lawsuit isn't going anywhere. And whether they like it or not, Ryan and Blake are going to have to answer for it. At the end of the day, one thing is crystal clear. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively are no longer looking like Hollywood's golden couple. The cracks in their perfect image are fully exposed, and now, a flood of celebrities, insiders, and former colleagues are stepping up to share their own stories. Their SNL stunt? A total backfire. Instead of controlling the narrative, they've only made people more suspicious. Fans are asking tough questions, and big names in Hollywood are confirming the rumors that Ryan can be rude, controlling, and insecure, and that Blake might not be so innocent in all of this either. So, what do you think? Is this all just Hollywood gossip, or are we finally seeing the real Ryan and Blake? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more wild celebrity deep dives, and I'll see you in the next one.
So we were right. One of the actresses was Jenny Slate. Surprise, surprise. But not for the reasons that you're thinking. Allegedly, The Hollywood Reporter has found out through sources that it was Jenny Slate, but the reason she made a complaint may shock you, maybe not, but let's just get into it.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are spiraling after Justin Baldoni just scored yet another brutal win in court. And the reason? Jenny Slate's name just got dragged into this chaotic mess, making Blake and Ryan look even worse than before. Blake's case was already hanging by a thread, but now that people are connecting the dots with Jenny, things are looking downright shady. And let's just say the receipts, they're a disaster. From questionable legal filings to accusations crumbling left and right, this is turning into an absolute nightmare for them. And this latest Jenny Slate bombshell, it might just be the final nail in the coffin. Blake's legal team just made a wild move, claiming that Jenny is one of the so-called victims from the It Ends With Us set. Yeah, you read that right. But how did Jenny even get pulled into this circus? For those who haven't seen the movie, Jenny Slate plays Alyssa, the sister of Justin Baldoni's character, Ryle, and sister-in-law to Blake Lively's Lily Bloom. In the film, when Lily confesses that Ryle has been abusing her, Alyssa supports her in leaving him. Seems like just an on-screen storyline, right? Well, think again! Wrong! Because off-screen, Jenny Slate reportedly had her own issues with the It Ends With Us set. And here's where things get real messy. Blake somehow decided to twist Jenny's complaints to strengthen her own case. But when people heard the real story behind Jenny's situation, they were straight up shocked. Even worse? It makes zero sense why Blake even documented this completely unrelated drama like it somehow proved her point. And get this, it's already been confirmed that Justin Baldoni had nothing to do with the so-called incident. So why drag him into it? Now, word on the street is that Jenny might actually testify, and if that happens, things could get even uglier. But before we even unpack Jenny's claims, you need to understand the vibe between her and Blake on set. Because once you see how these two were moving behind the scenes, this whole courtroom circus will make a lot more sense. First off, just like Brandon Sklenar, Jenny was one of Blake's co-stars who didn't exactly stand by her side, and that might explain a lot. Jenny Slate went all in for Blake when the drama with Baldoni exploded. She didn't just show quiet support. She went public with a statement calling the claims in Blake's lawsuit, and she didn't stop there. Jenny doubled down with an even longer message, making it crystal clear that she was fully riding for Blake. She said, "As Blake Lively's castmate and friend, I voiced my support as she takes action against those reported to have planned and carried out an attack on her reputation. Blake is a leader, a loyal friend, and a trusted source of emotional support for me and so many who know and love her." But here's where things take a wild turn. While Jenny was standing 10 toes down for Blake, the internet was not about to let her off that easy. People started digging into her past, and let's just say, it's not giving innocent bystander. Suddenly, old clips started resurfacing, reminding everyone how Jenny once proudly admitted to putting hands on her ex, Chris Evans. But hold up, we'll get into that later. Right now, let's break down how Blake dragged Jenny's name straight into her amended lawsuit. And pay real close attention, because here's what happens next. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Baldoni wasn't the only one who had issues with cast members on set. The Hollywood Reporter just dropped more details about the complaint Jenny Slate filed regarding the It Ends With Us set, something that was actually referenced in court documents, but with her name redacted. And let's just say, it's not what people expected. So here's what went down. Jenny, who has a toddler and is based in LA, had to temporarily relocate to New York City for filming. Naturally, she rented a place, but apparently she hated it. She told Heath, that she wasn't thrilled with the apartment, but didn't want to move because she'd be losing a massive security deposit. Around $15,000. That's when Heath stepped in. He let her know that Wayfarer would actually cover the security deposit so she could find a better spot. Sounds like a pretty sweet deal, right? But here's where things get messy. Apparently, Heath made the offer using language that made sense at the time, emphasizing the importance of motherhood and Jenny's role as a mother. Sources say Sony got wind of Jenny's concerns and immediately flagged them to Wayfarer. But now, people are seriously side-eyeing this whole situation. So let's get this straight. Jenny didn't like her apartment, made a whole scene about it, got offered a $15,000 fix, and instead of just saying thank you, she turned around and claimed she felt violated? This has been the hot topic for days, and the internet is eating it up. One viral comment sums it all up. As a woman and mother, this is so sad and crazy. How does a woman complain about a man valuing her role as a mother? Another viral comment says it all. These complaints are so offensive to anyone who has ever been in a situation that was actually threatening. And someone else added, Jenny filed a complaint because someone offered to financially help her move so her daughter could be safe. He used the word sanctity of motherhood, and that made her uncomfortable? I mean, what? People have gone over this so-called offensive moment with a fine-tooth comb, and the consensus? It wasn't even remotely HR-worthy. In fact, most people are saying they'd literally dream of having a boss who sees them struggling and actually steps in to help. But not Jenny. Instead of taking it as a good deed, she twisted it into a whole case of so-called disrespect. Someone make it make sense. And here's where things get even more layered, because the whole gesture that apparently set Jenny off was actually tied to Baldoni and Heath. Sources say Heath, Justin Baldoni, and co-founder Steve Sarowich are all part of the Baha'i faith. And this is key, because Baha'i teachings deeply emphasize the sanctity of motherhood, equality, and justice. So what happened? Instead of recognizing the kindness and intention behind the offer, Jenny called it inappropriate. This just confirms what Sony had already said. There were 0 HR complaints filed against Justin Baldoni. Let that sink in. And yet, this right here, this is the so-called evidence Blake tried to flex in her amended lawsuit, claiming she wasn't alone in raising complaints about Justin and Heath during filming. But now that the full story is out, people are calling her out, saying she's doing way too much. Because let's be real, if this HR complaint about Heath is what Blake is hyping up as her smoking gun, then it's looking like a serious reach. Like, this is what she's banking on? Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni is getting even more support, and the tide is rapidly turning against Blake. More and more people are stepping away from her camp, realizing she's not exactly exposing serious misconduct. She's just tossing out accusations and hoping something sticks. And guess what? We're still not done with Jenny Slate, because y'all already know how this story goes. This just solidifies what Sony already confirmed. There were 0 HR complaints filed against Justin Baldoni. Let that sink in. And yet, this is the so-called evidence Blake tried to parade in her amended lawsuit. She really tried to make it seem like she wasn't alone in raising concerns about Justin and Heath on set. But now that the real story is out, people aren't buying it. They're straight up saying she's reaching. Because let's be honest, if this HR complaint about Heath is what Blake is hyping up as her smoking gun, then she's in serious trouble. Like, this is what she's banking her whole case on? Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni is getting even more support, and the tide is turning fast against Blake. People are stepping way back from her camp, realizing she's not really calling out actual misconduct. She's just throwing out accusations and hoping something sticks. And here's the kicker, we're still not done with Jenny Slate, because you already know there's more to this story. Yeah, not a smart move at all. And let's be real, Blake seems to surround herself with people who are just as tone-deaf as she is. Oh, and speaking of messy connections, Jenny Slate and Chris Evans broke up ages ago, and here's the thing. Chris never, not even once, addressed the real reason behind their split or the DV allegations. The one time he was asked, he shut it down immediately, saying he was steering clear of those questions. Now, fans are seriously wondering just how bad did things really get between them. And here's where it gets even wilder. When I found out that Jenny took the $15,000 payout after filing the complaint, I audibly gasped. She took the money. She took the money and still tried to play victim. All right, switching gears. Baldoni's team, they are not playing. His lawyer, Brian Friedman, is working overtime to clear Justin's name. And honestly, it's getting harder and harder for Blake Lively to dodge the heat. You'd think the drama would cool off while everyone waits for the legal battle to unfold. But nope, this thing just keeps spiraling further out of control. And of course, Blake's team isn't going down without a fight. Even though they've been seriously underperforming. Now, in a desperate move, they're trying to spin the Jenny Slate situation into a Baldoni-led smear campaign. But here's the thing, that's not what's happening at all. Jenny's past is being exposed by third-party content creators, especially TikTokers who have been knee-deep in this mess since day one. And trust me, they are not holding back. Word on the street? Blake's team straight up approached Jenny Slate, trying to pull her into their lawsuit, but she wanted no part of it. And honestly, if that's true, her PR and legal team made the right call, because this whole thing is falling apart in real time. Even though Jenny hasn't been officially linked to Blake's case, her name is already getting dragged through the mud. And people aren't holding back. They're saying she just torched her career by siding with a bully out of pure pettiness. And let's not forget the resurfaced DV allegations against her. Yeah, they're making things a whole lot worse. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, isn't letting up. He blasted Blake's lawsuit amendment, calling it underwhelming and completely lacking in evidence. He said, her underwhelming amended complaint is filled with unsubstantial hearsay from unnamed persons who are clearly no longer willing to come forward or publicly support her claims. And here's where it gets brutal. Since documents don't lie, but people do, the upcoming depositions of those who initially supported Ms. Lively's false claims and those who are witnesses to her own behavior will be enlightening. Basically, Blake's so-called smoking gun is crumbling, and the very people who were once backing her are now distancing themselves fast. Even her co-stars, who were quick to jump in at first, don't seem to want anything to do with her case now that things are unraveling. But hold up, because this is far from over. We're about to get even more details on Jenny Slate's situation, and guess what? Friedman confirmed that all of them will be deposed, Taylor Swift included. And that is when things are going to get really interesting. Oh, and one more thing. It's becoming painfully obvious that some news outlets aren't exactly sticking to the facts when it comes to this case. Whether they're misreporting straight out the gate or scrambling to correct themselves way too late, the inconsistencies are raising eyebrows. And The Hollywood Reporter, yeah, they've been 10 toes deep in the Blake vs. Baldoni saga, but their coverage has been all over the place. Take Jenny Slate's situation, for example. At first, THR clearly reported that Jenny had filed an HR complaint. Then, just days later, they quietly edited their article, now claiming there was no official complaint and that Jenny had simply shared an uncomfortable experience, which was assumed to be Blake's doing. Apparently, Blake later twisted that story as supposed proof of women feeling unsafe on set. And then, they changed the article again, flipping back to their original claim that Jenny did file an HR complaint. So which is it? Because at this point, it's looking real messy, and people are starting to side-eye the credibility of these reports. Oh, and let's not forget, it's becoming blatantly obvious that some news outlets are not sticking to the facts when it comes to this case. Whether they're misreporting from the jump or scrambling to fix their mistakes, way too late. The constant inconsistencies are making people seriously suspicious. And The Hollywood Reporter? Oh, they've been knee-deep in the Blake versus Baldoni chaos, but their coverage? All over the place. Take Jenny Slate's situation, for example. At first, THR explicitly reported that Jenny had filed an HR complaint. Then, just days later, they quietly edited their article, suddenly claiming there was no official complaint, only that Jenny had shared an uncomfortable experience. And somehow, that was assumed to be Blake's doing, which Blake then spun into proof that women felt unsafe on set. But then, they switched it up again, flipping back to their original claim that Jenny did file an HR complaint. So, which is it? Because at this point, it's looking real messy. And people are starting to seriously question the credibility of these reports. That leaves Isabella Ferrer, who, according to Baldoni's countersuit, actually thanked him for creating a safe work environment. So, if Blake had another woman in mind, we'll just have to wait and see who she tries to pull into this mess next. And is it just me, or does the trial date feel ridiculously far away? Because now, we have to wait until March 2026 to see how this all plays out. But here's the thing. New evidence keeps rolling in every single day, and not a single piece has been in Blake's favor. This story is spiraling out of control, and honestly, it's getting crazier by the minute. So make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Blake's case has any chance at holding up in court? Or is this just getting worse for her? Let me know what you think, and as always, share this video so more people can see what's really going on. I'll be back with an update soon, so stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.
the family, they just have a lot of family drama. I don't know. It's like a cursed family or something. I hate to say that, but like it's just a lot of stuff happens in that family.
Blake Lively's picture-perfect image has been shattered, exposing a side of her that no one saw coming. The actress, long admired for her grace and charm, has been accused of being so ruthless that even her own family has reportedly cut ties. And the fallout? A Hollywood-level disaster. Lively is scrambling to control the damage, but the whispers are growing louder, and the cracks in her reputation are impossible to ignore. This isn't just a minor misstep. This is a full-blown scandal. For years, she played the role of America's sweetheart. She had it all: flawless red carpet looks, a golden reputation in the industry, and a seemingly perfect marriage with Ryan Reynolds that made them Hollywood's ultimate power couple.
Anna, what does it mean to be working with Blake again?
Oh, we're talking about you all day.
Add to that the lucrative brand deals, constant magazine features, and friendships with A-list stars that kept her in the spotlight. On the surface, she was untouchable. But Hollywood is a battlefield, and no one stays on top without stepping on a few toes. Now, the perfect illusion has been shattered, and it's all tied to a shocking feud involving none other than filmmaker and actor Justin Baldoni.
This is some family drama. You don't do this. You don't do this in front of the scenes. This is not right, okay?
The drama brewing behind the scenes is enough to make even the most seasoned insiders do a double take. So, what really went down? Buckle up, because the truth is messier than anyone could have imagined. But this isn't just about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. His family, led by his father, Sam Baldoni, has also been pulled into the firestorm. What started as a quiet legal dispute has exploded into an all-out Hollywood showdown, laying bare the ugly side of an industry built on power plays and backroom deals. And at the center of it all, a star who may have just pushed her luck too far. At first, few people realized how deep the tension ran between Lively and Baldoni.
We appeared to have all this money, or we appeared to be rich.
It's painful. It is painful.
Insiders whispered about behind-the-scenes clashes during a high-profile project they were both involved in. Creative disagreements are common in Hollywood, but this was something else. Sources claim Blake wasn't just giving notes, she was making demands. Word spread that she wanted major script changes, allegedly insisting that her vision take precedence. Meanwhile, Baldoni, known for his calm and collected demeanor, reportedly tried to stand his ground, determined to preserve his directorial control.
And so despite all of the resentment, to me, at the end of the day, that's what it means to be me.
What started as hushed friction on set soon became an open secret in industry circles. The press caught wind of it, and suddenly, Lively was being painted as controlling and relentless, while Baldoni was said to be quietly simmering under the weight of her interference. Then came the bombshell. Legal documents surfaced, and the scandal took a whole new turn. Lively dropped a shocking accusation, claiming inappropriate behavior on Baldoni's part. His camp immediately fired back, accusing Blake of using underhanded tactics to push him out of his own project.
We're women, so we can just lie and cheat and steal our way in to control these big movies. I mean, how disturbing is this to you?
Now, the gloves are off and the industry is divided. Was this a power move gone wrong? Or is there something even darker at play? One thing's for sure, this battle is far from over. The media wasted no time sinking their teeth into the scandal, desperate for every juicy detail. Tabloids ran wild with claims that Blake Lively wasn't just disagreeing with Justin Baldoni. She was allegedly orchestrating a full-blown takeover.
We never talked about it. I was suffering. We never talked about anything. You're my dad, and I was having resentment for all the stuff we don't talk about.
Rumors swirled that she was pushing to replace producers, swap out directors, and even demand a rewrite of the entire script. And the worst part? If the whispers were true, Baldoni, the very person who had nurtured the project from the ground up, was being pushed aside like an afterthought. At first, fans shrugged it off as typical Hollywood drama. Power struggles happen all the time in the industry, right? But what they didn't realize was that a storm was brewing, one that would soon blow the lid off everything.
is what you're doing right now. You were nervous. You texted me last night. You came here. You knew it wasn't going to be easy. We're going to talk about stuff. And you showed up anyways. And you listened.
Then came the moment that sent shockwaves through the entire saga. Out of nowhere, Justin's father, Sam Baldoni, who had been unknown to most fans, stepped into the fray, and he wasn't holding back. Hollywood parents usually stay in the background, but not this time. Sam had seen enough, and when he realized the narrative was starting to favor Lively, he decided to take matters into his own hands. But instead of a dramatic press conference or a generic public statement, he chose a modern battlefield, social media. And what he did next was nothing short of a masterstroke. Sam's video was simple yet brutal in its impact. No rants, no accusations, just a bulletin board covered in words that describe Justin's character: compassionate, focused, respectful, generous, a father's quiet yet powerful endorsement. But the real stinger? The caption that had everyone talking. In a world full of Blakes and Ryans, be a Justin. Mic dropped. Sam Baldoni never had to say their names outright. His message was razor sharp and impossible to misinterpret. In just a few words, he sent a direct shot at Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, cloaked in just enough ambiguity to set the internet on fire. And fire it did.
I'm a huge fan of you.
Oh.
Your movies are so inspiring. If everyone can tag Justin Baldoni to his video, it would mean the world to me. I have been trying to reach out to you for the longest. I have everything of you.
Within hours, his short but lethal post went viral, igniting a frenzy across social media. TikTok feeds were flooded with analysis, Twitter was ablaze with theories, and the comment sections became battlegrounds of debate. Some defended Lively, but many others began questioning everything they thought they knew about Hollywood's so-called golden couple.
Everyone's seeing through it. They're seeing through the BS. And, at the end of the day, they're the ones who are seeking gag orders against Baldoni from releasing information.
For Blake, this was an unexpected disaster. She and Ryan had spent years carefully crafting their brand, charming, relatable, effortlessly perfect. Fans adored their witty social media